Go through custom fonts. But you have the layout roughly correct for this card, but the text and the fonts don't look quite right. A couple simple things. You notice the headers are in all capitals. There's a simple style rule for that. So if I go to H2, I can use the text transform rule and set it to uppercase. I'll make it all capitals. And then the H3 header is in the font style italic. So text transform, uppercase, font style, italic. You can look all these up. That gets us partway there. But it doesn't quite look right. A few important notes. The only font that has serifs in this original business card, that's the little feet on it, is this italicized one. Those has little feet on the T's, but everything else is sans serif. So if I want to start getting the fonts right, I can just go to main and say font family. And this offers to fill in a bunch of kind of normal font families. So here's one with sans serif. Arial, that's a very common font, Helvetica or sans serif. The reason it lists multiple fonts is this is just going to use a font on the computer, so it won't look the same on everybody's computer, since not everybody has the same fonts installed. And then H3, I might do something like Times New Roman, which is a serif one, and that's going to have little dots. So if I just do that alone, I'm getting somewhat closer to the right feel. But you'll notice these letters don't quite look right, like this has a narrower E, and so on and so forth. Now, in this case, I'm copying an image from the internet. That font might be a very expensive font, might not be one that's going to be available freely, but I can probably get closer to it. In your case, you're probably just looking for a font that you like. In either case, we're going to use, in this class, mostly for fonts, we will use the fonts that Google has actually bought and made freely available to web developers. So these fonts are all licensed for use anywhere. You go to fonts.google.com. That's fonts.google.com, and that will bring you to Google's lovely font browser. They have these different categories. So for example, let's say that I wanted to start by getting, oops, where'd it go? Getting that italics creative director font as good as possible. I can come in here and say I only want to see serif fonts. That's ones that have the little line. I can also say, hey, show me these fonts in italics. Oh, I guess that's only showing me fonts that are already in italics. Never mind. Beautiful. So now I could look for one that I liked. There's a bunch of things that make fonts different. It's kind of the, here, if I want to, oops, I'm going to zoom in on the O. It's got a relatively strong difference. You can see the slant of the pen. Sort of thick there and there. It's a little more angled than these ones. That's actually kind of getting there. Let's take a look at Laura. There is an italic. So go ahead and select the style that I want. I could add, in this case, I only need the italics. I'm just going to grab the italics, but I could grab all the styles, and the import would go inside of my style sheet. So if a link goes on my HTML, you could use either style. Let's go ahead and just try to use the import rule. I'm going to take this rule here, I'm going to copy that, go into my style sheet, and that's going to grab the font from Google. And then the second part is how I use the font. So here it's going to say font family Laura and serif. So I'm going to go down to my H3, and instead of this Times New Roman, I'll go ahead and use the Laura serif. Ooh, that looks like it failed, doesn't it? Oh, I accidentally pasted font family twice, so it did fail. There we go. And the slant. Yeah, all right, that looks okay. I don't love it. I actually might go look for more fonts, but not terrible. You can see this one's got a lot more slanty italic. So for example, if I chose this one, oops, not that guy. If I select this style, and actually what Google's doing is it's making me a rule to import all the fonts at once. So like, I could remove Laura now and add this. We'll go ahead and just we'll do what Google wants and grab all the fonts. So we'll go back and let's find a sans serif font that we like. We're looking now for the equivalent of this. It looks somewhat narrow. And actually, I can say what text I want to show up here. So if I type in custom text, it'll interesting. There we go. Now it's showing up. Ah, that's got a nice narrow T. All right, now I could spend all day looking. I'm just going to imagine that I like this condensed font. That looks relatively similar. And in this case, I might want both the regular and the bold. All right, and now if I go to view my selected families, import rule is now going to have a bunch of fonts in it. So there, I'm going to copy that. Come back here, replace my import rule with this fancier import rule. All right, and then I've gotten rid of Laura. Now I have Playfair Display. And then for my body, I'm going to go ahead and use this Roboto condensed instead of Arial. Play. All right, and I can see the fonts are different right away. This looks a lot closer to the right one. You'll notice how different the feel is now that I have the right font. It's not necessarily exactly right, but this definitely feels a lot more designed. It looks like actually those headings should not be bold, which they are. So I'll go ahead and make the font weight normal on my heading. And now I have a pretty close approximation of the fonts. So fonts.google.com is the magic place. Once you've selected your fonts, you click View your selected family. Come down here, choose the import rule, and copy that into your style.css or into the style section of your tag, and you should be good to go.